So this afternoon we're dedicating to another form of bhakti. It's actually kind of official bhakti practice, storytelling. The sharing of stories from heart to heart. And of course, storytelling is one of the oldest forms of teaching, learning, and entertainment. Long before we had electricity, sitting around the fire, sharing stories. And in this sort of digital age of storytelling, I think sometimes there's a tendency to lose touch with the oral tradition and our imagination. Like instead of having things visualized for us, presented to us, visual form, so it kind of creates a lazy imagination, in some sense, with a dependence on visual media. I think there's still a really powerful place for the oral tradition and for us to be able to listen to someone tell a story and concoct the imagery ourselves and to listen for the universal truths inside of these stories. And many of the stories I'll be sharing are mythical stories. And one of our great mythologists, Joseph Campbell, talked about the power of myth, and particularly like the hero's journey, which is a template that he saw in mythical stories from cultures all around the world, and how we can really relate to our own lives as these mythical journeys, and we can be the hero of our own lives and apply this template to our own lives. And when we listen to these stories, the invitation is to really identify with every part of the story as a part of yourself. So the villain is you, the hero is you, the trickster is you, the journey, is you. And if we can really relate to these stories in an imaginative way, then I think we're more likely to tap into the nourishment, the food, and the truth, the wisdom in the story, and apply it to our own lives. So it's not just like this fleeting piece of entertainment. You're like, oh yeah, spent a weekend with this weird band in Virginia years ago, and they told this funny story. It was cool. But actually, no, sure, hopefully that happens too. There's some entertainment there, but actually it's unlocking something in your own imagination, in your own psyche, in your own heart. And I find a real bridge to that, our imagination, especially if we're used to living in our heads and having a more analytical, sort of rational relationship in our day-to-day lives, is art. So that's the reason why we have the invitation for y'all to, as you listen to some of the stories we're sharing, if you want to, you might just doodle a little bit and color and draw, and because we all are just kids with bills. We really are, kids with a few more responsibilities. So I really want to invite you. Can we be is it okay to be like kindergartners for a couple of hours together? I think it's really healthy to be playful and to be imaginative and curious, and to not be in this mental state of feeling like we already know it. We got it together. We've figured it out, because that's a pretty boring place, to be. And to be open. I'm assuming that y'all wouldn't be here if you were in that state of consciousness. An ashram is not a place for that. So we're going to share some stories. We're going to sing a little bit together. As you listen to the stories, there's an invitation to do something which is also a synonym for bhakti, and that is participation. The most common translation of bhakti is devotion, but bhakti is also participation. And so that means instead of watching and witnessing something from a distance, from a safe distance, which is a very healthy meditation practice that I recommend in certain forms, bhakti's not that, though. Bhakti is actually singing and being in the stream, in the motion, in the feeling, rather than observing it as a witness. So they're very, very different practices. And so I invite you to help us to bring these stories to life by participating in them, instead of just being a spectator sitting out there. I'm sorry the stage is so high and it feels like there's a little bit of distance. We don't really, we just imagine we're on the ground with you, because we don't really want to be far away from you. We want to be with you and together creating this experience and co-creating it. So storytelling will involve some singing, which I know y'all are already up for. Awesome. Some sound effects. Are y'all cool with that? Should we practice a little bit? All right, robot sounds. Pretty good, guys. I'll give that a C. Not that we're giving out grades this weekend. How about evil laughter? All right, you're doing better. How about celestial angels? Wow, that's so great. Let's see. Wild animals? We are on our way. Thank you so much. There's an interesting quote from a tantric yoga philosopher named Douglas Brooks, philosophy teacher. He says, "A myth is an outright lie told in service of a greater truth." A myth is an outright lie told in service of a greater truth. So my job is to lie my ass off to y'all. And your job is to listen to the truth inside the spinning of the tail. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, or maybe not so far, there lived a man who was singing from the depths of his heart, dancing wildly, crying out with total abandon and vulnerability, praying in the bliss, the ecstasy of the moment. Can we just what would that sound like for you? Can we go for it? Woohoo! Help me out, y'all. Whoa! He was just absolutely present, immersed in the current of this experience, totally blissed, when suddenly he felt the long, sharp, piercing poke of a fingernail digging into his shoulder, which startled him. And he turned and he looked, and sitting in front of him was a cynic. And my imagination kind of gets the best of me. This is actually a Rumi poem brought to life in the oral tradition. When I see the cynic, I see a tall, thin man wearing a tuxedo, a black tuxedo, with a tall top hat and long nails, with a snarling face. And he kind of snarled at the man. And he said, "Do you know how weird you look right now? Dancing like a fool. What a freak you are. Singing, you have a horrible singing voice. You're totally mispronouncing the mantras and the chants. I am so embarrassed and ashamed to even see you doing what you're doing. And on top of that, I have a question that I'd like for you to consider. Think about this, mister. I heard you crying out to God, yelling, wailing. But my question to you is, have you ever heard anything back? Have you ever heard anything back? The man thought about it. Tears started streaming from his eyes because he never had heard anything back. He hadn't even thought about that. And as he gazed upon the cynic, he wasn't sure, was this person real or just a voice in his head? Nevertheless, he stumbled into the forest and he crawled across the earth and found a place underneath the tree to sleep, a confused, agitated, anxious sleep. As he slept, suddenly he had a vision. The guide of souls, benevolent and peaceful, appeared to him. Walked up, put his arm around the man, and said, "Dear friend, please tell me, why did you stop singing? Why did you stop dancing? Why did you stop praying?" And the man started sobbing, weeping. That cynic came. He told me how weird I look, what a fool I was, how silly I was. He might have even called me a sinner. And he told me I had a horrible singing voice and my dance moves were really weird. And I looked very awkward. And I was mispronouncing all the chants and just closed my heart. It just choked my voice closed. I can't even feel my body anymore. And then he asked me a question that I'm ashamed of the answer to. He asked me when I prayed and cried out to God if I ever heard anything back. And I had to be honest. As depressing as the answer is, I have never heard anything. Not even one utterance. And the man just slumped deeper into his own forlorn body. And the guide of souls smiled gently. He put his hand on the back of the man's heart. He said, "Dear friend, dear friend, please, don't fret. Don't you know? The grief you cry out from is the answer. The grief you cry out from is the return message. Your sadness is the secret cup. Your thirst, your longing, the presence you reach for lives inside of that. Dear friend, have you ever heard a lonely dog crying out for its master? Need y'all's help now. Oh, oh, oh! Have you ever heard a lonely dog crying out for its master? Oh, oh! in the sound of that how lives the Master. Dear friend, there are love dogs everywhere. Give your life to be one of them. There are love dogs everywhere. Give your life to be one of them. Rumi says, don't pray for water, pray for thirst. Don't pray for water, pray for thirst. So bhakti is the path of the thirsty, the path of the hungry, path of longing. I'm fascinated by the word belong and belonging. Because when you look at the word, it means be longing. To be longing is to belong. What? To be longing is to belong. So an invitation, y'all, to be okay, to reach, to stretch, to quest, to yearn, to pour your grief and your sadness and your emptiness into the container that allows for that connection to happen. Not afterwards, but during. You can find this longing in so many stories and so many songs, not just in the world of bhakti, but far beyond. There's even a lot of bhakti on the radio, y'all, if you haven't paid attention. A lot of bhakti on the radio. And that's where I heard this next song we're going to share with y'all. There's so much longing in it. As soon as I heard it, I was like, man, we got to play this. The song is called Wide River to Cross. And I'll look up the songwriter's name before the end of the session to fully credit them. There's a soul in the wind blowing down the road I've been. I can hear it cry when shadows steal the sun. But I cannot look back now. I've come too far to turn around. There is still a race ahead that I must run. I'm only halfway home. I got to journey on to where I find the thing I had lost. I've come a long, long road. Still I got miles to go. I got a wide, wide river to cross. I have stumbled, I have strayed. You can trace the tracks I made all across the memories my heart recalls. But I'm just a refugee. Won't you say a prayer for me? 'Cause sometimes even the strongest soldier falls. I'm only halfway home. I got to journey home to where I find the thing that I had lost. I've come a long, long road. Still I got miles to go. I got a wide, wide river to cross. There's a sorrow in the wind blowing down the road I've been. I can hear it cry when shadows steal the sun. But I cannot look back now. I've come too far to turn around. There is still a race ahead that I must run. I'm only halfway home. I got to journey on to where I find the thing I had lost. I've come a long, long road. Still I got miles to go. I got a wide, wide river to cross. I got a wide, wide river to cross. I got a wide, wide river to cross. This next story comes from a different part of the world. It originates in the Zulu tradition of Africa. And we'll have a chance to do some animal sounds, more animal sounds in the story as well. So once upon a time, in a land far, far away, or maybe not so far, there lived a beautiful family, and during the day, they spent their time playing, the kids, and tending to the garden, and gathering food for dinner. And they were very busy as soon as the sun went up in the sky, all the way until when the sun came back down again. But at nighttime, they would light a fire and sit around the fire, and the kids would get a little restless and impatient. You see, this was a time before there were stories. And the kids, they knew something was missing. So they started begging their mom, whose name was Manzandaba, and their dad, whose name was Zenzele, to tell them some stories. So they would beat on a drum. Stories, 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 stories. Manzandaba and Zenzele, they turned to each other. Honey, do you know any stories? I don't know any stories. What about you? Do you have any stories? I don't even know what a story is. Eventually, the kids would fall asleep. Next day, they'd work all day, sitting around the fire again the next night. Even louder, help me. Stories, 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 stories. They went to the neighbors. They didn't have stories. Every home they visited, night after night, louder and louder, the kids would chant, stories, 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 stories. Now, Manzandaba was a good mama. And one day, she knew she had to go find some stories, y'all. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? So the kids, they gathered around her one morning, and they all gave her a big family hug, and some snacks for the journey. And then they hummed a little song to her that they wanted her to carry on her adventure. It sounded like this. Help us out. Each kid, and she kissed Zenzele farewell. And she went into the forest, y'all. That's a place that I imagine some of y'all have visited. And it might not be the literal forest, like the trees and the shrubs and the wilderness. But just go into a place that's unfamiliar. Leaving the safety of what we know can be a part of the human journey if we want to grow. And it doesn't mean we have to actually go someplace. It's not necessarily about traveling. It could be an internal space. So she walked. She walked into the forest. And Joseph Campbell says, if you're walking on a path that's already been cut, it's not your path. So she started to feel a little frightened as she got a little farther along. She heard some wild animal sounds in the jungle. There we go. Can you lift your arms up for a moment? She saw the grasses and the bushes and the trees moving in strange ways. She remembered the song her family gifted her, and she sang, upon a big tree. And in this tree, there was dozens of little baboon children making wild sounds, y'all. Yeah. And at the top of the tree was the mother baboon, looking completely exhausted. Big giant circles under her eyes. And she sighed really deep. Nevertheless, Manzandaba, she needed to ask the question. She said, oh, Mother Baboon, I'm so sorry to disturb you. Maybe your children ask you this sometimes. Do you happen to have any stories? She sighed again. Are you crazy? Do you think I have time for stories? Mothering all these kids, these crazy kids? Manzandaba thanked her. She knew her children were waiting for those stories. She had to get them, so she journeyed forth. She sang her song. suddenly there was a meadow. And in this meadow jumped a giant hare. Boing, 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 boing. He looked like he definitely had some place to go. But she asked, sir, please, Mr. Hare, do you happen to have any stories? You seem like you travel a lot of places. Do you have any stories? Sure! I got stories. I got plenty of stories. I got hundreds of stories. I got thousands of stories. I got gazillions of stories. But sorry, I'm on my way somewhere. Gotta go. Boing, 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 boing. Disappeared into the distance. For a moment, she was discouraged. But she stepped back into the forest on her journey, remembering her children. It's true. When you step into the known, you're likely to meet some characters. Some of them even tricksters. She kept on walking though, y'all. And suddenly there was a huge field. And in the middle of this field stood a grandfather elephant. Can anybody make an elephant sound? Really miss Gwendolyn's ability to do that. Come on, go for it, y'all. Woo! She walked up to the grandfather elephant. She said, "Oh, great grandfather elephant, you've lived so long. You seem so wise. Do you happen to have any stories?" He made that elephant sound. He said, shook his head. He said, "Oh, I don't have any stories, but I know someone who might be able to help." And he looked up. In the sky, it was a great seagull flying. These seagull sounds, y'all. And she saw up ahead there was a shoreline and a beach. So with the blessing of Grandfather Elephant, she kept on walking through the woods towards that shore. As she walked, she hummed the song her children had given to her. that seagull, swooping, doing acrobatic moves in the sky, landing in the water, catching a fish right in its beak, screeching out in pride. Screeching out in pride? She probably chose the wrong moment, but she said, "Hey, excuse me, Mr. Seagull, do you happen to have any stories?" And at that very moment, the fish slid out of his beak back into the water. "Damn it, lady! That was my dinner. How dare you interrupt me?" She knew she needed to do something to soothe his anger. So she said, "Has anybody ever told you how handsome you are? You're the most handsome looking seagull I have ever met." "Oh, well, thank you very much. I very much am. What would you like? Did you have a question or something?" "Well, I was wondering if you have any stories." "Ah, one of those, huh? Well, I don't have any stories, but I have a good friend who might be able to help you." And all of a sudden, she heard this huge splashing sound, and a gigantic sea tortoise rose up to the surface of the water. And a beautiful, old, friendly sea tortoise head popped up out of the waves and said, "Climb on my back, lady. I heard you want stories. Let's go get 'em." When you go into the wilderness, y'all, you're gonna meet some characters and hopefully some friends as well, some allies. So she climbed on the sea tortoise's back, and as they went down magically through the depths of the ocean, she was still able to hum her song. As they journeyed down to the depths of the ocean, she saw amazing fish. Can y'all make some fish faces? Like cool looking fish, different colors and sizes and shapes. She saw lots of beautiful neon colored sea anemones. Any sea anemone arms, y'all? All these strange sights she had never encountered before. They just kept going deeper and deeper. Finally, they reached the bottom of the ocean, where there was a secret palace made of coral, pure, beautiful colored coral. And they entered the gates, these beautiful dolphins opened the way for them to step in. And they walked gently across all these starfish as seahorses swam by. And they entered this chamber where there was 2 beautiful coral thrones. And sitting in the thrones, the king and the queen of the ocean, each holding a scepter, the starfish. They welcomed Manzandaba as their beloved guest, and they fed her. And then she was offered the opportunity to visit their court and to talk to them. So humbly and kindly, she stepped up to their thrones and she bowed down. She said, "Oh, great Queen and King of the sea, I am so grateful to be here. I am here on a quest and a long journey, and I'm told that you might have some stories that I could bring home to my children." They smiled and nodded. They consulted with each other, the king and the queen. They turned to one another and they whispered. And then they both nodded again, thumbs up. And they turned to Manzandaba and they said, "We can see you are a good mother and a sincere soul, and we would like to give you stories. But we have a question for you and a request. In exchange for stories, would you come and visit us more often?" "Oh, of course, Your Graces, of course. I love it here. This is so beautiful, and I can see the earnestness and sincerity in your hearts. I would love to visit you more." "Very well. It is agreed." And the king pulled out a big conch shell, and he said, "Whenever you need a story, just put your ear up to the shell, and you'll have a never-ending supply of stories, unless you stop visiting us. And if you cease to visit us anymore, the stories will dry up. You'll put your ear to the shell and you'll hear nothing." Manzandaba wept with joy. She thanked the king and the queen. She told them she couldn't wait to share the stories with her family and then to come back and visit and to tell them about how it went. Maybe she could even bring her children with her at some point to receive the welcome of the court. The king and queen were pleased, and they handed her the shell. She stayed for 3 more days and 3 more nights, and then it was time to return home again. She climbed on the back of the great sea tortoise, and as they lifted up from the depths of the ocean, back to the surface, back to the dry lands, she hummed her song. She stepped off the tortoise's back and waved to the seagull as he flew overhead smiling. She thanked Grandpa Elephant. She even saw the hare hopping in the distance. She shared some of the stories with Mother Baboon to offer to her kids. And then she came full circle back home again, just in time, as the sun dipped across the landscape and it turned dark. And Zinzele lit a fire and they sat around in a circle and the kids started chanting, stories, 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 stories. She smiled, this biggest smile as she ever had, and her kids were thrilled as they watched her take the conch shell, place it up to her ear, and listen. And then she set the shell down. As the whole family circle grew quiet and raptured, Manzandaba said, "Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, or maybe not so far." She told the first story the world above the ocean had ever heard. And they all lived happily ever after. So I love this story, particularly because the deal that Manzandaba made with the king and the queen, she had to return again to visit them in order to receive more stories. And to me, this is a beautiful metaphor for spiritual practice. Our spiritual practice is the visit to the depths of the ocean, our reunion with Source, whatever that is for you, that touchstone. And it's the place that nourishes us, that gives us the gift of creativity and sustenance, nurturing. I heard an interview with Mary Oliver, the poet, years ago, and she said she wakes up the same time early in the morning, every morning, and she goes to her desk, and that's her appointment with her muses. And she said, I got to make that appointment. If I miss that appointment, then they might not trust me anymore, and they might not give me any more poems. I thought that was interesting, that she had a commitment. That was like her spiritual practice, to be at that desk and to take those walks that she took. And in exchange, she got all of this inspiration that has nourished millions of people. So my question to you, where do you go to receive that nourishment? What's your opportunity? Your language that allows for you to touch into that source, that bed, that foundation. You might not want to go there all the time. You might feel a little lazy or tired or distracted, but you know it's good. It's a good place to visit. There's gifts there. It's good food to nourish you for the long haul. Are you open to visiting more often? Are you open to deepening your commitment to being with this presence that you feel in your own signature way? It's one thing I love about being at an ashram. It's the reason it exists. Swamis living here for decades, living that day in and day out. And we get to come and visit and experience the resonance of their discipline and their efforts and the rhythm and the cycle of each day. And it can really feed our commitment, to our practice, our devotion and dedication. So some good food for thought and for our heart, y'all. In this spirit, I would love to create an opportunity for you to tell a little story to someone else who's here in the circle. Again, valuing that oral tradition and that opportunity to receive, not only like to listen with our ears to someone sharing a story, but to feel the energetic transmission when someone speaks about something that they care about deeply. And the story is about a place or a practice or a presence of source that's meaningful to you in your heart. I'd love to invite you to tell a story about that to someone. It could be really simple, like I love to go to this place in my neighborhood. I go on a little hike in the woods, and when I'm there, I feel this, this, and this. Or it could be, I went on this adventure, and I met this, this, and this, and it could be more like a travel story or an inner travel story, but an opportunity for you to share your story of some kind of an inner or outer adventure with someone. And I'd love, it's kind of hard because good listeners are a pretty rare breed in our culture. Love for you to really listen, like to the person sitting with you, rather than rehearsing in your mind what you're going to say next. Just to really listen and sit with each other. So, stories, 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 stories. So sit with somebody, ideally maybe someone you don't know already, but it's up to you. No pressure. And a little bit of sharing time. We'll do this for about 10 minutes or so. So about 5 minutes per person. That's okay. Doesn't interest me what you do for a living. Doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. Doesn't interest me who you've studied with. It's like, this is the real heart, of soul-to-soul connection with somebody. And so it's wonderful just to be able to be in a conversation and hear the intimacy of someone's, this morning, a place in nature that has been very present, and meaningful for them. And then this afternoon, a place of source, which could be the very same place, perhaps, possibly. So thanks a lot for participating in this exercise. And I hope that if the conversation felt unfinished, that you can commit to having lunch together tomorrow or breakfast together, or taking a walk and maybe continuing the conversation. It's a form of satsang, a form of keeping the company of fellow seekers of truth and wisdom. So in the spirit of that story and this conversation, we would like to share another chant with you. And this one comes from a wonderful cantor named Rabbi Shlomo Karlebach. And he wrote a song called Return Again. That's really, really beautiful. And it has two parts to it. And once you get the notion of the two parts, you can sing either one. And ideally, some of us are singing the first part, some of us are singing the second part, and we can really go deep together and create this wonderful synergy. So here's the first part. The words are return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Wanna try it? Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. And then it's, remember this, who, what, where is the order. Return to who you are.
Return to who you are.
Return to what you are.
Return to what you are.
Return to where you are.
Return to where you are.
Born and reborn again.
Born and reborn again.
Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn again. Shall we? Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Second part. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn again. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn again. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn again. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Oh, some of y'all keep singing that part. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul.
Reborn again.
Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul.
Reborn again.
Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn again. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn again. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul.
Reborn again.
Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul.
Reborn again.
Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn again. Return to what you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn again. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
Reborn again.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
Born and reborn again.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. One more time. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, or maybe not so far, there lived a group of yogis who practiced yoga every moment of their waking day. They could do all the asanas, y'all. Warrior 1, Warrior 2, Warrior 3, Warrior 4, Warrior 5, Warrior 6, Warrior 7, Warrior 8, Warrior Virabhadrasana 108. They could do pinky stand, as well as headstand, handstand, forearm stand, elbow stand, eyelash stand, tip of the nose stand. They memorized all the sutras, all the mantras, all the scriptures, all the shlokas. They were masters of pranayama. They could hold their breath for 3 days at a time. They were so good at yoga, they could even multitask. They would go up into pinky stand and do a little nadi shodhana with the other hand while chanting Vedic mantras. Man, I've been practicing and teaching yoga for a long time, but sometimes it takes a little while. I don't get to my mat like every single day necessarily. Sometimes a few more days pass. What was it that motivated these yogis to be so dedicated to their practice? What was it? they would live long lives because of all the wonderful yoga that they practiced. They would die, and they were reborn again. Next thing you know, they're in the crib, little baby doing pinky stand. What was it? What motivated them? Well, some would say it was something absolutely unrealistic and unreasonable and ridiculous. They had a wish. They had what's called a sankalpa. They had a sacred intention. And that's why they practiced, because they wanted this wish to come true. And their wish, y'all, was to meet God one-on-one in the flesh, to meet God, even if just for a few moments, in person. That's all they wanted. So they just kept practicing and practicing and practicing, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, until one day they were all reborn as cowgirls. Can I get a yeehaw? Gopis. And a funny thing happened. Maybe you can relate. They forgot all those past lives. They just had a list of things to do every morning. Milk the cows, brush the cows, feed the cows, tend to the garden, make food for their family, clean the house, do some other chores. As you can imagine, they were exhausted. Go to bed, wake up, check it off. Maybe you, it's like some of that stuff. Return the emails, return the text messages, check off the things on the to-do list. And that's what they did. Day in and day out, these gopis, these cowgirls, until one night, a special night. It was a full moon, y'all. A blue moon. And one of the cowgirls was in her kitchen. She was stirring a big pot of khichdi. And as she stirred that khichdi with a big wooden ladle, she stirred and she stirred and she stirred. She started singing as she stirred that khichdi. And the sound of her voice was something like this. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Another gopi was down on her hands and knees, and she was cleaning the floor, just a few more places to clean before she went to bed. And as she moved the sponge across the floorboards, it made a kind of rhythmic sound, something like this. Help me out. Keep on going, y'all. And while she was scrubbing and making that rhythmic sound, the gopi next door, stirring the khichdi, was singing on top of it. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Keep on going with that sound, y'all. Another gopi was in her family bedroom, and she was putting the kids to sleep, and the kids were all in bed in their pajamas, and she was about to change into her nightgown. She was singing a little lullaby to her kids. She sang, Hari Om. just doing the thing that they do every day, every night, just in the routine of that. Then something changed, y'all. Something unexpected happened. That can happen to any of us at any moment. In the middle of the mundane, they suddenly heard a sound, a sublime sound. They couldn't tell where it was coming from. The sky? From their own hearts? It was the sound of a flute. Can y'all help me out with some whistling, some flute sounds? A beautiful legend of the flute, the reed that's been cut from the reed bed and carved, and holes placed in that reed. And when the musician puts their lips up to the flute and begins to play, do you know the sound that comes out? It's the sound of that reed wanting to go back home again to the reed bed, the yearning, the thirst. It's another love dog. They heard that, y'all, and they wept. The gopi that was stirring the big pot of khichdi, tears dropped into the khichdi, and she let go of the big heavy wooden ladle, and it sank to the bottom of the pot. The woman scrubbing the floor. When she heard the sound, she hurled the sponge into the wall. She could care less about the dust on the floor. And the woman who was singing lullabies to her children, she was naked. She hadn't even had time to put on her nightgown. But the three of them, and hundreds more like them, they ran out their houses. They ran as fast as they could towards that sound, that flute sound that was calling them. Something ancient was pulling them. It was the long waited for answer to their prayer, to their wish, to their sankalpa. All of those years and years of sadhana, of practice, finally, the time had come for their wish to come true. And hundreds of them gathered by the riverside, which is a special place. In places that have rivers, special things happen down by the riverside. And standing there next to the river was Krishna himself, so beautiful, all attractive, blue skin glowing, glorious eyes gazing upon all the beautiful cowgirls that had gathered, all these ancient yogis who finally were to have their moment, and he played his flute just for them. He did something amazing then, y'all. He multiplied himself so he can meet each one-on-one underneath that full blue moon, next to the river, next to the flowing water. And each one uniquely spent the night with Krishna, one-on-one. And each one had completely different experiences. For example, one of the gopis went on a long hike with Krishna up a mountain to look up at the moon more closely. Another one of the gopis was in a church with their arms lifted up in the sky, singing, Hallelujah! 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 And Krishna was with her, with his hands lifted up. Another one of the gopis was back at home, playing with her kids, down on the ground. And Krishna was right there by her side, and they played together. Another gopi was on the dance floor. Dancing with Krishna ecstatically. Oh my God, they had all kinds of unique, distinctive experiences. Hundreds, as many Krishnas as there were gopis, all connecting to spirit in distinctive, unique, signature ways. Krishna revealing to them that love does not come in one form. As they say at Yogaville, many paths, many paths. All night long, the old ancient yogis, in the form of these gopis, these cowgirls, relished their time with Krishna, and Krishna relished and savored his time with them. Then the sun started to rise, and Krishna did something that he always does. He disappeared. And each gopi was left with the sweet, sweet memory of that night and a wisdom in their heart that they need not hold on too tightly to this experience. That when they go on a hike, or when they go dancing, or when they play with their children, or visit a place of worship that touches their heart, that love and wisdom and guidance are present there in so many forms and shapes and faces. And they needn't hold on too tightly to one of those forms. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. They all lived happily ever after inside of us. Okay, we can catch hands with the folks next to you. If volunteers want to come in the circle, you're welcome to. Thanks, y'all. Awesome. So in the spirit of that story, the story is called the Rasa Leela. It's the night that Krishna meets those ancient yogis and the gopis. And there's another part of the story where he dances with them, as a group as well. And so we're going to sing a mantra together. I'll say the song to you first, and then we'll do some movement to accompany the song. That's just really sweet. And again, we're kindergartners, right? So it goes like this. Gopala, Gopala, Devakinandana Gopala, 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 Devakinandana Gopala. A couple more times. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana Gopala. Great, second part. Devaki Nandana Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana Gopala. One more time. Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. Very good, y'all. So first step, we sing the first part and we walk clockwise. Here we go. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Go. And then we turn around and sing it again. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Go. Then we turn to the middle, lift our arms up, walk in. Devaki Nandana Go. And then bow, walk back. Devaki Nandana. Release hands, clap, spin in place. Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. And then it all starts over and we speed up. Like cycle to cycle to cycle until our hearts start to beat a little faster. And we have fun with it. Maybe imagine there's a full moon overhead and we're just connecting deeply heart to heart. Shall we? Awesome.
Yeah.
And I want to just name this dance is inspired by the dances of universal peace. Maybe some of you have experienced it. And I see Samuel Lewis. He's the third from the right there. There's Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, and then I think that's Samuel Lewis, who is the founder of the dances of universal peace. And so he's. I saw him up there, and he's like, "You better give me credit." So let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. Turn around. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. To the center, arms up. Devaki Nandana Gopala. And bow, walking back. Devaki Nandana Go. Release hands, clap in place, spin. Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Go. We start over a little bit faster. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. Turn around. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. To the center. Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. Woo! Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. Turn around. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. To the center. Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana. Even faster. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. Woo! Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana. Even faster, can we do it? Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. Woo! Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, Devaki Nandana. All right, last time, y'all, even faster. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana Go. Keep holding hands. Devaki Nandana. Keep holding hands. Devaki Nandana. Back to the center. Keep holding hands. Devaki Nandana Gopala. Back. Devaki Nandana Go. Back to the center. Devaki Nandana Gopala. Devaki Nandana. One more time to the center. Stay there. Devaki Nandana Gopala. Devaki Nandana Gopala. Woo! Hi, Iris. So we're going to do this one chant. We go, Radhe. We lift our arms up in the sky. And then Sham. We touch our hands to the earth. So Radhe is like a lover of love, lover of Krishna. And then Sham is another name for Krishna, which is just love, you know. So we go, ready? Radhe! Sham! Radhe! Sham! Last time. Radhe! Sham! All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Give it up for Narada and Alvin. Thank you, guys. Hope y'all have a beautiful rest of your afternoon. We're excited about the concert tonight. It's open to the public. Feel free to...